All praise is due to Allah, who has united the hearts of the believers in Islam and has made it an obligation to remain united and has made it forbidden to become separated in his clear book. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah, who guides to the straight path whom he wills, and I bear witness that our leader Muhammad is his messenger and the best caller to the way that is straight. O Allah, send your prayers and your peace upon our leader Muhammad and upon his family and upon his companions, whose hearts were united and whose souls were educated, so that they became victorious leaders. And what follows thereafter, O believers of Allah, I advise you as well as I advise myself, to first have the proper regard for Allah and thereafter be obedient to him. Dear believers, I greet you with the universal greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be with you. This week we are continuing our conversation of the pillar of Salat. And last week we looked at the wudu, the preparation for prayer. But this week we want to look at the Adhan, or the call to prayer that is given. And we know from the historical accounts that this call to prayer came to one of the companions of the Prophet in a dream, and the Prophet instructed the companion Bilal to the former slave companion Bilal ibn Rabah to give this call for the very first time. And so what we want to do is we want to walk through it and look at it conceptually, as we do many things. And so the way that the call to prayer begins, it begins by the saying of the words Allahu Akbar. And Allahu Akbar is completed or recited 4 times. And so when we look at this conceptually, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, this first time, and Allahu Akbar means that Allah is greater, God is greater than anything that it is that we can come up with, anything that we can think about. God is greater than that. And so this idea, when we look at it conceptually, the first time Allahu Akbar is mentioned, we think of that as the environment, as creation, or without the interaction of any of us, the interaction of anything, that the creation of Allah is so perfect in its design that exists without our interaction. So it's in the environment, this notion or idea that Allah, that God is greater. And then the second Allahu Akbar is us beginning to realize it, us becoming aware of this fact. Maybe it's through some life experience, maybe it's through some type of interaction, but we have now become aware that Allah is greater. And so then we say the Allahu Akbar a third time, God is greater. And this is, I've gone past just acknowledging it and taking it in for myself. Now I am spreading this. Now I am informing others that God is greater. I'm informing them either through my words or through my actions, how I carry myself, the regard that I show for my Creator within my actions. So this is this third Allahu Akbar. And then the fourth one is that now that this idea, this concept is back in the environment again for someone else to come by and interact with. So we say Allahu Akbar, God is greater 4 times at the beginning of the Adhan, which is the call to prayer. And then we say after that, Hayya al Salat, come to prayer, come to worship. So I've gone through this idea, or I've gone through this action of stating how God is greater. But now I am calling others, come to prayer, come to Salat, that get from what you're doing, stop it, whatever it is you're doing. We have acknowledged that God is greater. We have not acknowledged God in his hierarchy or in his magnificence. And now we're saying, come worship him. Hayya al Salat. And that is repeated twice. And then the next line says, Hayya al Falah, which means come to success, come to life. And this is what we're doing by coming to prayer. We are approaching success. We are taking actions that are going to lead us to be successful. We are coming alive, not only in getting up and coming to prayer, but we are coming alive because we are engaging. We're going to engage with what our Creator called on us to do. So it's Hayya al Falah, Hayya al Falah. And that is repeated twice. And in the morning prayer for Fajr, we say As-salatu khairu min an-nawm, which means that prayer is better than sleep. And in the Iqama, which is the call that is made after the Adhan is given, we say Aqamati salat, which means stand for prayer. So that's in the Iqama. But after we say those statements, we go back to Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is greater, God is greater. And that is to bring us back to this idea, that is to bring us back to this concept that I've acknowledged the Creator. I've informed others. I've called people to come to worship. I've called people to come to life, to come to success. I told them that it's better than sleep. I told them to stand for prayer, but depending on which call it is. But at the end of that answers the why. Why am I doing these things? Why am I coming to prayer? Why am I coming to success? It is because God is greater. God is greater. Allah is greater than whatever that thing is that you're doing right now when it's time to make prayer. And the final line says, La ilaha illallah. There is no God except Allah. Nothing worthy of worship except Allah. And that is the call to prayer of the Muslims. And inshallah, in the second half, we'll discuss more on the prayer. Aqulu qadr astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ali Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama salata ali Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barak ali Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ali Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. So now that we have been called to prayer, we think about the things that we must do when we get to prayer. And so the first thing we do is we bring our hands up when we say Allahu Akbar. And then we put our hands on our stomach. And the position that we are in is called Qiyam. That's when we are upright. And if we notice when we pray or when you see others pray that they're standing tall and they have their hands over their stomachs or to their sides, or for women they have them a little higher, but they're standing upright. And in any other place that we are, we think about the ACFT when we do the deadlift and we stand up strong. That is supposed to be the point that we're the most strongest or the most balanced or the most stable in that movement. And so what we see about this position of Qiyam, when we're upright and we're standing tall, this is the only time in the prayer that the Qur'an is recited. Is when we're standing up. That the Qur'an must be recited is when we're standing tall and we are balanced in our footing. And so then once we recite the Al-Fatiha and the first surah of the Quran and another surah, we then go into what is known as in Ruku, and we put our hands on our knees. And so sometimes you think about, and when you play a sport and you're tired or something that you've been doing is heavy and you need to catch your breath. So we go down to our knees and then we make a few statements and we come back up. And we stand up again, and then we go into sajda where our face and our nose are on the ground. And we're bowing to our Creator at the lowest possible point that we can be. And when you see this position, or you see this, how it looks, there is no concern by the person praying on what is going on around them. They're focused on their Creator. They have their head down in full submission, in full worship of their Creator, that whatever is going on, it doesn't matter, because their mind is focused on the one who created them. And so we go into sajda once and we come back up. And then we go back down into sajda again. You know, sometimes for things to show that they're meaningful, sometimes we do things on our own just out of habit. But here in the prayer, Allah causes us to go back down into sajda. And in all the troubles and all the worries, all the things that were on our shoulders that were weighing on us, when we go into sajda, if you had something on your shoulders, it would just fall off. Because I'm putting all of my cares and all of my concerns and my focus on my Creator, and I'm at my lowest point, and I'm not concerned about the environment around me. I'm not focusing on the environment around me. I'm focusing on my prayer and engaging my Creator in worship. And that's a rak'ah. And so in the prayers, different prayers have different numbers of rak'ahs. And there are different times of day that we make those prayers. But one of the things that is the most important for believers in the military to understand, that within the religion, there are left and right limits. And when we talk about our prayers, thinking of them being on time, we know the narration where the man went to visit the prophet and he said, I want to come learn when to pray. And so the first day they prayed when the prayers came in. And the second day they prayed right before the next prayer came in. And when the man was getting ready to leave, he said, I came to you, O Rasulullah, to find out when I should make my prayers. But we did it on different days. We did it at different times. And so the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that between those two times, your prayers are still considered on time. And that's when we're looking at it as being on time. And sometimes our day may come to where we're unable to pray our prayer on time. That we have to make those prayers up. Our responsibility is to pray 5 prayers a day. We understand, Allah understands that things may happen in your day that keep you from your prayers, but that doesn't remove your obligation. And then we think of the prayer of the traveler, the one who is in a place for 14 days or less, where they can combine prayers or shorten the prayers, all except for the Maghrib prayer where you still pray the 3 rak'ahs. But they're able to combine or shorten the prayers because of they're in a traveler status. And then sometimes the concern is, I don't have the place to pray, or I'm in a vehicle, I'm in transit. But the Qur'an says that you can pray standing, sitting, or lying on your side. So there's all this space for us to still be in the proper frame or proper form of worship. But sometimes we make it difficult for ourselves because we never were in an environment where we weren't able to pray the way that we wanted to pray, when we wanted to pray, as long as we wanted to pray. But now that we're in the military, things may be a little different. So we have to engage and learn about our religion so that we can improve our practice and improve ourselves, and not make the normal or general reasons as to why we are not praying, as to why we are not praying on time, as to why we're not praying when we're in different locations. So inshallah, we take this information and it makes us better believers. It makes us better Muslims. It makes us better examples of our religion. And we ask that Allah continues to bless us and increase us in knowledge. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا تقبل منا إنك السميع العليم إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له بذلك أمرت وأنا من المسلمين الحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.